We are here at the Hamilton, Ontario Sheraton Hotel for the reunion of the SPADs, which is the Sabre Pilots of Air Division Squadrons, ex-Sabre pilots of the Cold War. And we're here with retired Wing Commander Don Payne, or Doc Payne, as he's known, former Commanding Officer of the 427th, 427 Lion Squadron. I joined the squadron, 427 Squadron, shortly after Don left the squadron. So I never really knew him until we got together at previous reunions. But his reputation preceded him, and it was a pleasure to finally meet him. And we're here today to learn a little about his extraordinary life as a fighter pilot and a bomber pilot during World War II. The best way we can do that is probably just start at the beginning. So Doc, can you just tell us where you were born and when roughly? And
okay. Born in Leamington, Ontario, home of Heinz's ketchup. If it wasn't for Heinz's, I wouldn't be here. I grew up on a farm south of London in Belmont. And went to SS number 14 Middlesex County School, in the country school, and did my high school and started university in London, Ontario. So London is really my hometown.
London, Ontario. So you joined the Royal Canadian Air Force somewhere at the beginning of World War II.
Yep.
And
I joined the Air Force here in Hamilton, actually, and because the recruiting officer in London was a friend of a buddy of mine who was also going to be in the Air Force. We were both 17, just over 17 years old. So he wouldn't accept it. So we came to Hamilton and smoked him through here, and we thought it would be in a couple of months. This was in early 1943. Oh well, it would be April, May 1943. Right, the school year, and we got here and we thought we were going to have a big delay, and he gave us a voucher for overnight stay, and the next day we were in mining depot in Toronto, in the bullpen, and getting issued kit, and we were in the Air Force. Right. Yeah, so we did our initial training in Toronto at the exhibition grounds, along with thousands of others. And then we left there. You want to go out from there? I left there. I went to initial training school in Belleville. It was a school for the blind, which is very apropos. But the ITS, our initial training school, was also our ground school. And your selection, air crew selection area. And from the ITS, I was selected as pilot and went to Payne, Ontario, which is just east of Ottawa, in Tagamoss. And did my elementary flying training there, EFTS. Graduated from that and went to Camp Borden on Harvard's, and I got my wings at Camp Borden. Graduated with a commission, which was a surprise. Because I always thought I'd be the last one. But anyway, that didn't happen. So I'll go on from there. We'll go quickly into it. I did a quick hurricane conversion at Bagotville. And that was all just a very short one, 3 weeks. And went to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia for holding, and Louis Pasteur got on a boat and went to the UK. Went to Bournemouth. And while I was in Bournemouth, I was there about 4 days, and I got interviewed by an RAF wing commander because we were being held there due to backup during war time. And he interviewed about 5 of us, and 2 of us went to Red Hill, just south of London, to fly with the RAF on a short-term basis. And it was a weapons proving unit. And we got converted to Spitfires and Typhoons. And so we were out, and we were into the rocket business, electric firing rockets, and anti-personnel mine and for the canals. So we work up on these locally in the local rangers, and then to try them out, we would join up. They arranged that we join up with 111, the RAF squadron that had Typhoon. We'd get an escort with 111. We'd join up and we'd be part of the sortie. We'd be low-level sorties and Typhoon. And we'd go over and try these out and see if they actually worked on the targets. So that was quite an experience as a young guy, because you got to remember, I was 18. And but we were very mature, suave kids. And and we didn't drink, which was corrected very quickly at the Wheat Chief Hotel, Wheat Chief Inn at just outside of Red. But anyway, the upshot of the whole thing was that as we were there for a short time, and the RCF had given us leave to do this for short, and I wasn't aware of what the circumstances were. Anyway, make a long story short, within 8.5 weeks, we had done almost 40 sorties. So it was an intense thing, and the Boffins being the people, or the scientists that come up with these ideas, boy, that didn't work. You know, you press the button and nothing happened, and you say it didn't work, and now you got to get back. It was then those people to correct all this. So you're working with people that, yeah, didn't really understand what the problem. So so I did the fighter pilot tour, and it was a sort of a non-op tour. We got bounced a bunch of times and stuff, but we were protected, and we did our best. We got pretty good at it. And we were mostly canals, trains, Tiger tanks. They were dug in. And that was our objective, to help. It was ground support or lead the ground support. So we used something different. Anyway, from that, within that very short time, we had actually completed our tour. They came to us one day and said the wing commander was in Australia in charge of it, and he came to us and said, "You guys are through. You've done 4 trips more than you should." And we got their ministry on our bums, and we got to send you back. So what they did then is I leaned against the bar that night and said, God, you know, I wouldn't mind. I was thinking ahead about it. I said I wouldn't mind flying a twin engineer. As a matter of fact, we'd flown the bullfighter with no dual warning, and I like twin engineer planes. So I asked them if they didn't mind. You know, I would like to go on twins, or have a go at it. And within a week and a half, I went to Kidlington in Oxford, Kidlington north of Oxford, on Oxford's on a twin conversion. From there on in, I got into stream Yamston on Wellington for our workup with our crews and our bombing and stuff. And then to a heavy conversion unit at Wamilton in the Muck, which is up in Yorkshire on Lancaster. That was the Lancaster conversion. And within 3 weeks of that, we were on squadron.
And which squadron was that?
428 squadron. 428 is the Ghost Squadron.
Right.
for a very good reason, because you wound up coming back and you're far less people in the nest afterwards than when. But okay, so there I am and it's a little ironic, but Chester Hall was my CO. And but we never got to know the COs too well because they were pretty far removed, which became a thorn in maybe Hall's little thing, because you kept saying, "Don't you remember me? Don't you remember me?" You must have been a very poor race. Flight commander squad. Just talk to us. But anyway, he on the squadron, we did our trip. Well, we were there just a short while.
Doc, can I ask a question? Did he not want to get to know his pilots and his crews because he knew that it would be a very short time, and therefore he wanted to divorce himself from it, so it wouldn't hurt?
It was more crew. It was more our problem than his problem, because we made ourselves pretty scarce when we came back. You got to remember that you're young, high mortality rate. You never made friends with anybody because you know goddamn well next time you wouldn't be there. I got some good people. And you're starting to get feedback from the other squadrons and buddies that you train with, and they're disappearing. So anyway, I was immortal, so it didn't make any sense to me at all. It was all good. Anyway, we were there, a squadron, a short time, and our first, we got the call on the board, and I had my crew workup by this time. And my first operational mission was commands, and it was a particularly tough one, because, and of course it's at night, and it was a particularly tough one because it's in a high density area and it's well defended. And you're snot-nosed green, you didn't know a thing, and all of a sudden you run into this. Well, you learn very quickly.
And the target was?
The target was Mance. And with this indoctrination, you've got to remember, you got a crew and unindoctrinated. And this is their first baptism of fire, and it's a good one. It's a really good one. So actually, it was a good training mission, put it that way. And I had a particularly good bomb aimer and navigator. I wasn't particularly good at the cockpit. Remember, you only had one pilot in these things. And but I did my best, and the results that we had were quite good. So on subsequent flights, trips, we came back, and I won't go into that too long, but we went to mostly long range. You got to remember, this is getting late in the war, and so our targets are getting farther and farther away. And one of our early flights was to Chemnitz, which is a 10.5-hour flight, and it was particularly. It was a difficult target, and a long flight, and we had lots of trouble getting back.
You mean difficult because of flak?
Yeah, big flak and searchlights, the Wurzburg, the searchlights and things. And still we weren't very expertise. Our training was still in being. And with the next long trip like that, but we get back home, finally started home, and we thought, well, at the end of that, boy, we thought about it, we debriefed ourselves, and then the next thing we know, the call board goes up, and we're going back to Dresden.